Hi, I'm Al-Samarrie with Diabetes Health Magazine. I'm here with Kelly Mann from Tandem, who's going to show us and give us a product demonstration on the T-Flex. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, which began release in May of 2015. And what is significant about the T-Flex is that it is the pump that holds 480 units. So it holds the most insulin of pumps. And it is quite a bit smaller than those with a 300 unit capacity.
So this was designed for people that have more insulin needs, larger units per day?
Correct, for people who are insulin resistant, people that have more insulin usage per day.
So they would be bolusing how much at a time, say, compared to someone that has more of a normal use?
So they may bolus up to 60 units at any given time, and the T-Flex will accommodate for that. As far as their basal rate, they may have a basal rate of 0.5 or more, and the T-Flex will accommodate for that as well. And so the interface, touchscreen interface that we have with T-Slim is the basis for T-Flex, with then allowing for the greater capacity for those individuals. So with T-Flex, to unlock the screen, we press our silver button.
Or let our audience see that there. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you'll see that we unlock by pressing 1, 2, 3. And on the screen, you'll see the battery and realize that T-Flex has a battery that's charged with a micro USB. You can see the units of insulin. You would have your time and date. Your top choice would be bolus. And so realize that an individual will work with their pump. 80% each day will be with bolus, which is what they take for their meals, their snacks, for blood glucose. And then below that is options. So anything that is not dealing with the bolus, insulin given, would be found under options. And then we have insulin on board on the face of the screen as well, which is significant because that's very helpful for patients with diabetes to see the active insulin. It helps them make great decisions on what they're going to do moving forward with their insulin based on what's active in their body. So from a patient perspective, I'm going to have a meal. So I will go to bolus. I will touch on grams, and I'm going to enter the grams of carbohydrates that I'll have for that meal. So if I'm going to have a large apple, and I count that as 25 grams, I'm going to have 8 ounces of milk, which I would count as 13 grams of carbs, and a sandwich with 2 pieces of bread that I would count as 30, giving me the total of 68 grams of carbs. I would then enter in my blood glucose. So let's say that I was 125. So my pump says that there's insulin on board. So that lets me know that the pump is taking that into account, what's active, so that it may not give me a total dose for an elevated blood glucose, protecting me from having a hypoglycemia. I would press close. And so the pump says that it wants to give me 13.6 units for my 68 grams of carbs and my blood glucose of 125. So I would say next. I have a confirmation screen so that I confirm that everything I entered is correct. I would press yes, and then I would press deliver.
That's great. So it has the logbook. It takes away having to remember what you took, what's on board, whether you changed your basal or not, what you're putting in, and then it calculates it. That's really wonderful.
So it does have a history so that you do have a recall of all of those things.
And what are some of the other features? I mean, how's this pump different from other pumps? We know it delivers more insulin. It has a lower basal rate. What are some of the other features that make it stand out? The touch tone is really great.
So the touch screen, which is easy for patients to use, and it's familiar to us because we
Right.
have a lot of technology items, our cell phones and whatnot, that are touch screens.
Right,
So
it's
familiar
great.
to us. It's easy to teach, and it's very easy to learn.
Right, it becomes more intuitive because we're conditioned to do it in different aspects of our lives.
Right. So when we eat meals, they might not be meals that have the same amount of carbohydrates or fats or proteins. So we would need to accommodate the way that we deliver our insulin based on the foods that we take. So T-Flex also has the ability to give what's called an extended bolus. So let's say that I was going to have a meal of pizza. And so we all know, those of us with diabetes, that it's very difficult to eat pizza if we don't have an extended feature or if we're doing it with multiple daily injections. So if I was going to have 2 pieces of pizza, I would count each as 32 grams of carbs. I would enter it into my T-flex, so that would be 64. I would enter in my blood glucose, say that I'm 120. Again, insulin on board, so it doesn't want to give any extra for the 120 because it doesn't want to give me a low blood glucose. So I acknowledge that. It wants to give me 12.8 units of insulin. The extended allows me to give it over time. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to say X. And so the pump says 50% now, 50% over time, over 2 hours. But anything that's in blue, I can touch and change. So for my pizza, I'm going to opt for 40% now, 60% over time. And I'm actually going to deliver the dose over 1.5 hours because I know that that keeps up with my digestion as I would like it to.
So would you also use this in terms of timing when you're going to get your meal? So you ordered it, you know, you're not going to get served for a half hour, the restaurant's really busy, or you're at home, it's going to take longer, say 45 minutes. Would you use that feature for that as well? I mean, that's a really great feature.
So you could use it if you were at the restaurant, and let's say that you were going to have your salad, your soup, and your bread right now, and that your entree was expected in about 20 or 30 minutes, and you knew the carb count for that, then you could set it as an extended for the part of the meal that was going to be arriving.
But you wouldn't do that knowing that, say you ordered and that it's gonna be a longer wait. You would do it, you would set it knowing that you would get, say, your soup and salad right away, and then that you're extending for the main course. Okay.
Yeah, if you did it in anticipation of a meal, then the danger could be that you have some insulin that's working before you actually had the food. And so our concern would be if you give the insulin too soon, you could have hypoglycemia.
Right, that makes a lot of sense actually. Okay. Well, that's great.
Okay, so when we go back to our confirmation, we go back to deliver. And so that's simple. I was able to tell the pump, give me 40% now, and then 60% over the 1.5 hours, so that I can be successful with my pizza meal.
That's great. Now, is this available to all insurance paid? If someone wants the pump, everyone pays for it?
So we work with all insurances. That would be Tandem, and we would contact the insurance to find out their situation and the plan. So each insurance would have a different plan as far as the perspective on the patient. So some patients may have 100% coverage, some patients may have a copay, or some patients may deal with a deductible. So we encourage patients to contact Tandem and then let Tandem explore their insurance plan so that we can get the best coverage for them.
Okay, could you tell us what the qualifications are again for to qualify for Medicare to cover your pump, your insulin pump?
Absolutely. So a patient with Medicare would inquire about an insulin pump and share information about their insurance. We would then find out that they have Medicare, and basically with Medicare they have a rule that the patient needs to pass the serum C-peptide result and a fasting blood glucose. So the patient can expect to get an order from their provider to go have blood work done, and we tell them to be fasting and to have them done together simultaneously. The hope is that that morning their blood glucose is less than 225, and that's a rule by Medicare, that if they are higher than 225, Medicare will not respect that result. And then the serum C-peptide would need to be less than 0.8, is generally what they're looking for. If it's different than that, again, we would give about a 6 months pause and have the patient retested.
So basically Medicare wants to see that you're in a good range. Correct. They don't want people that aren't taking care of their diabetes, which if you're having higher blood sugars, you're not a good candidate for an insulin pump.
So they're actually looking at how much insulin is the pancreas actually putting out. So if they have a lower number, then it's less insulin that pancreas is producing. If it's a higher number, then it's more that it's producing. So they're looking for those that actually are producing less insulin and improving them for insulin pumps.
I see. Okay, that's great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
From Diabetes Health, I'm Al-Samarrie.